Good evening. I would like to share with you an emotion that really disturbed me greatly. As I listened to Donald Trump beat on Secretary Hillary Clinton, and he did something that I considered very disingenuous. He started to beat on her. He started to, in essence, paint the picture that she was an enabler for the coming to the side of her husband in the midst of a major family crisis. And as I listened to this man speak, I was thoroughly convinced that he really had no idea of what it meant to be in a marriage versus one being in a relationship in which you were a de facto autocrat. When I got married, I remember the priest challenged us to take care of each other, richer, poor, whatever, but to be there with your spouse. Now, in 1994, my wife and I published a book. The title was called Wedlock, ... The Common Sense Marriage. One of the dreams for this book was, at the time we were married roughly 22 years, and we wanted to get where we could have a long tenured marriage, not just a short marriage and a divorce. Now, the material in this book allowed us to stay married now for 52 years. So that was 30 years more than when we wrote the book. So obviously we conclude that the information we got from the various people that were interviewed, that information was what at least we needed to go forward. And my concern is that Donald Trump does not understand the common sense of marriage. I feel that he sees himself like King Henry VIII. He divorced 2 wives, but he beheaded a couple of them. Fortunately, in the case of Donald Trump, you can't behead any people today without going to jail yourself. But the important thing that we learned was we asked a simple question: how much time does it take to do something silly enough to destroy a marriage? Silly enough. Let's think of some of the things you can do. I could take all our savings, go out to a casino and gamble it away on one roll of the dice if I put all the money in one thing. I could start a drug habit. We all know that there's some potent drugs out there that will get you addicted very quickly. You could turn around and murder somebody, which would be devastating. These are just some things. But then, if I was going to deal with sex, you can come along and have a quickie to get you involved in something. A quickie might get the woman impregnated. Or if you're a woman, you get impregnated by a strange man, and there your family falls apart. So you got these kind of circumstances. So when we talked to a number of people and averaged out all of the numbers we got, we found out that the average time to do something dumb was 5 minutes. 5 minutes. What's such a small amount of time? 5 minutes. Now we took a year and broke it up into 5-minute increments. And if you do that, you find out that there's 100,000 opportunities for each spouse to do something dumb. If you take one of the spouses over a 10-year period, you're looking at 1 million opportunities to do something dumb. If you got that many opportunities, obviously somebody's going to do something dumb. So the other part of marriage comes to deal with is the whole business of forgiveness. You know, you got to say, okay, I got two choices. I throw the marriage down the tubes. I'll figure out how we can forgive one another. And if we can forgive one another, then we can bring the marriage back. But the question becomes, what is the definition of forgiveness? The definition we wrote at the time is no longer, made a mistake there. Let me go over a little bit further here. Looking at forgiveness, we boiled it down to, you say, okay, I forgive you. However, it's not forgiveness unless you truly do it in your heart and you never bring it up in a discussion again. If you bring it up again, you haven't forgiven. It's got to be gone. So forgiveness is taking it completely out of your discussion and it's gone. Now, when I come back to Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I think Hillary was a brave woman to forgive her husband's transgressions, and she did it in such a manner that she didn't walk away in the middle of the crisis. And what she demonstrated in doing that She demonstrated a perseverance, tenacity, or whatever you want to call it, to stand in there when the crisis hit, not to walk away. On the other hand, when Senator Ted Cruz outfoxed old Trump, what did we hear? Trump yelping and crying and so forth, acting like he was some bad little child. And so when I look at all of this stuff in Trump and marriage, what I come to is I'm concerned about two situations. One, the fact that he's hoping to get all of these evangelical votes. And if he gets those evangelical votes, in my opinion, that will be awful. Because these people who are supposed to be strictly religious and follow by the rules and all that, they will be condoning divorce as their mantra. And in so doing it, with Trump with 2 different divorces, then that means that they've de facto accepted polygamy as legitimate in the U.S. Now, if indeed that's the case, then I might start arguing that, hey, Trump's always arguing about how he got a problem with Muslims. The Muslims don't have a problem with polygamy. So obviously he might be a closet Muslim. Just don't want us to know. Because he's gotten multiple wives. You know, if you got 1, 2, 3, and they're all alive, then something's different. So, my bottom line is, I think Senator Clinton has demonstrated a tenacity to stand in there when there's a crisis, no matter how big it is, and if it's fought out on the world stage, she's still there. Donald Trump crying in the primary. So I think probably the absolute worst thing you could do would be to elect Donald Trump as president. So I give my vote of praise to Secretary Clinton, because what she did was to hold her marriage together under the absolute worst conditions. She held it together versus somebody crying when they couldn't figure out how to get electoral votes. They didn't know the process. So I've had a chance to vent my bucket, and I thank you for taking the time to listen to me. You will see this written out on the article that's attached to this. Have a good day.